Welcome into the CHGO White Sox Post-Game Show, coming to you live from Studio A of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
Our CHGO White Sox community leader. You can follow him at Ecknerwall23. You can follow me at Sean_W_Anderson. Follow the show at CHGO_White Sox. We appreciate you hanging out with us after this White Sox loss to the Cincinnati Reds, 11-4. And let me check my notes here. Herb, it says they lost on Saturday.
Yep.
And it says they lost on Friday.
Correct.
So that means the White Sox got swept. Oh, good. That's fun. Anyways, it's only been 15 games, and the White Sox have only won 2 of them, which is a great team and a great experience for you, the fans, to watch. Hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We are thankfully being produced today by Greg Braggs. Do you want to say anything? You don't have to.
Hello.
Showing up to Sox opening day in a Cubs jersey. I mean,
like a great
guy. That's true.
Yeah, you did.
It was Cubs opening day, too. Thank you very much.
You were at the Sox bar for Sox opening day. But anyways, hit that thumbs up button. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Today's show, we're going to talk about the sweeping at the hands of the Reds. We're going to talk a little bit about the rough start from Michael Soroka. We're going to talk about Garrett Crochet's fine start. I don't think it was a bad start. It obviously wasn't as good as his first 3, but we'll talk about what went wrong for Crochet in that start on Saturday. And then we'll probably pound a little bit on the horrible offense from the Chicago White Sox. Our CHGO White Sox beat writer Vinnie Duber will be joining us later on in the show. You can follow him at Vinnie Duber. He's got 2 brand new articles from the weekend up at allchgo.com. We got a super chat, so let's start off with some good news. Huh? Hey. Thank you, Matty Rice, for the $5 super chat. Bulls made the play-in tourney. Jerry Reinsdorf is feeling great today. Nothing to see here. So let's go. We do have a great CHGO Discord where all our diehards hang out with, and Nate O said in there, the Sox currently are on pace to win less games than the 39-43 Chicago Bulls. So that's good. They play half the games the Chicago Bulls do, and the White Sox are out here pathetically playing baseball.
I mean, I don't think anybody had this in mind, how they're playing baseball. I think everybody knew they're going to lose. But I don't think if you told somebody at the beginning of the year, hey, after 15 games, the White Sox will be 2-13. I'm like, no, of course. They got the Royals on their schedule. The Reds are there. Man, I mean, I'm sure they'll get swept by the Braves. That didn't happen. But no tough teams. The Detroit Tigers are going to do well. Yeah, it's over, man. And the White Sox are just woeful. Like, this is the thing I have with Pedro Grifol and the blame I give to him. The chest was puffy-chested in the offseason. Oh, man, we got all the players that we need here. They get to play the baseball that we get to play. And now I'm happy. We're playing fearless. We're playing aggressive. We are out here playing selfless and also technically sound. Not at all. Like, you saw all those things go by the wayside today in today's game. So I've been calling for his job since last year. He definitely needs to get fired before the month is over. Now, James Fox brings up a good point. Since Joe Colley brought out that thing that he was fireable last year, and now that Joe Colley's brought that out there, Jerry Reinsdorf is going to do whatever he needs to do to make sure that Joe Colley was not right about that and not give him the satisfaction. Has he deserved to get fired? Hell yes. Is this his fault? Not necessarily. But you just can't have no accountability for the worst start in White Sox history. The worst start in 124 years of baseball.
Do you want to say it again?
The worst start in White Sox history.
Thank you. And yeah, I mean, I don't really want to waste too much breath on Pedro because Pedro is just one person. There's 26 men playing baseball on his team. There's guys above him like Chris Getz. There's obviously the owner, Jerry Reinsdorf, that I think deserve more blame. I think it's going to be very fun to watch if Pedro Grifol can get to 200 career losses before he gets to 100 career wins. But we had a comment 3 days ago from our guy Anthony, who said, your guys' show is absolutely pathetic. If you want people to start watching this show, fire all these guys. And I think it's because we didn't say enough about Pedro. And I don't really want to waste my breath on Pedro. Like, he was a bad hire.
Yes.
I was pretty wrong in my judgment, my initial judgment in Pedro Grifol. I thought, hey, it seems fine, seems passionate, seems like it should be a decent baseball manager. I was just wrong. But again, like, an artist is only as good as his tools, no? Like, what is he painting with here?
I mean,
like dollar store paint made out of, reused milk?
Let me give you my case for why he needs to get fired. It was in the 7th inning. The bases are loaded. The Reds are on the ropes. They're still up 10-2 at this time. Andrew Benintendi comes up, hits the ball, of course, to the opposite field in the air. It's a drive to left center field. Their bases loaded with nobody out. At minimum, the guy at third should be tagging up. The guy at second should be halfway, and same thing with the guy at first. Will Benson makes a valiant effort, misses the ball. It falls on the ground. Guy at third tags up, scores. Guy at second just goes from second to third. Same thing with the guy for first, goes first to second. Andrew Benintendi ends up with a single, RBI single. But that right there tells me all I need to know about Pedro's team. They're not smart. Baseball IQ, that's fundamental. Like, you should be halfway to second or halfway to third if you're the guy in second, who was Nicky Lopez. You have plenty of time to get back if Will Benson makes that miraculous catch and to do whatever you need to do. But it's just dumb plays like that epitomize this game. You should at least score 2 runs there. Had Andrew Benintendi on second, had the guy, I think Robbie Grossman on third with 2 runs, and then you're cooking. Instead, you get a single run there and then I think a sac fly later from Gavin Sheets, and you score 2 runs in that inning where you should have opened it up and maybe made that game competitive in the 7th inning. But that is the opposite of what Pedro preaches, and their players are just sitting out there doing fundamentally bad plays each time they get a chance to do. And they had 3 errors today. 3 damn errors. Like, easy catches, too. The Robbie Grossman one was the easiest catch. Andrew Benintendi drops a ball on the ground, misplays it. The guy goes from first to second. Like, these things aren't hard. Same thing with Nicky Lopez. He's tagging a guy. Instead of grabbing the ball, he drops the ball and the ball gets kicked out. Another error. It's just so bad of a brand of baseball. I thought we were getting at least cleaned up baseball, but still the hitters were going to be bad. Today was just bad pitching, bad hitting, bad defense. It was a culmination of everything.
And hell, I'll go back to the game they lost 7-6 in 10 innings, the wrap-up of that Cleveland series. Yep. I'm pretty sure they didn't use their challenge. There was the play, I think in the 7th inning, where I ended up asking you guys in the chat, like, I thought they didn't use their challenge already. And there was a play, it was bang, bang. I'm pretty sure Lopez ended up tagging out one of the guys that ended up stealing second, but there was just no challenge at all. It's like, are you watching? What are you waiting for? Like,
and
there's a play right there.
You?
Huh?
Don't you lose it after the 7th inning,
right?
Too?
So, I mean, I could be wrong on that, but I don't understand some of the thought processes as well. It just doesn't feel like he's actually obsessed, like he said, with winning baseball games. We got one more super chat, so let's get to that. We appreciate everyone hanging out with us. Hit that thumbs up button if you haven't yet. From Io, $5 super chat. When you have Lenyn Sosa batting second, you got to get fired. And that's fine if you feel that way. And if you feel like, you putting Lenyn Sosa to bat second in Cleveland should get a person fired, that's fair. But also, Lenyn Sosa is not Pedro Grifol's choice to be on the roster, right? He was given 26 men before opening day. There's been horrible injuries that have happened in the White Sox depth. On their 40-man roster is Lenyn Sosa, is kicking Jose Rodriguez off the 40-man roster to try to fill in for some of these injuries. So, again, I can't really say this is all on Pedro or this is all on the managers and coaching staff because it's the same bad coaching staff that the other general manager fired and, the one that got fired, Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams, They didn't do enough of a good job building depth on this major league team, and Chris Getz is, fairly doing the same thing.
Yeah, and I get what he's saying. He's saying, like, yeah, we have no depth, but there's no reason to put Lenyn Sosa at the 2 spot. I think he did that just because Yoán, the game before, was at third and batting second in the lineup. He's like, oh, he's replacing Yoán, so I'm going to put him in Yoán's spot in the order, which is so dumb. Like, yes, I get it that he's out, but Lenyn Sosa has done nothing to be the second most deserving to get at bats in that lineup. It's a terrible lineup, but yeah, it should have been what's more like today. And I don't like Gavin Sheets being the 4th hitter instead of that not good hitter Andrew Vaughn.
Well, and who's batting second today? Your guy, Andrew Benintendi.
Oh, my God.
I'm so glad I'm not driving people to drink anymore. I'm so glad I don't get ughs whenever I bring up Andrew Benintendi's name to slander him. I mean, this is his other option to bat second, the guy that's getting paid $17 million, and Robbie Grossman is doing a better Andrew Benintendi impersonation than Andrew Benintendi. I mean, this guy is signed 5 days before the Major League season even starts, and here comes Robbie Grossman taking walks, getting on like a leadoff man should, slapping singles. I don't think he's got an extra base hit, but he's a lot more entertaining to watch than Benintendi, and he actually has the arm to play right field, unlike Andrew Benintendi. I find it hilarious that, this guy, Benintendi, has no ability to play left field, can't actually, hustle to get a fly ball that's fairly close to him. We saw that, I think, in the third inning today. And then he doesn't have the flexibility to play center field because he's too fucking slow. And then in right field, he doesn't have the arm to actually play to throw people out, and he can't hit. He's batting fifth when Lenny Sosa's batting second. I mean, Andrew Benintendi, what do you do here? Like, hello? It doesn't feel like anyone on this team actually has energy or true motivation, at least from the hitter standpoint. 34 runs in 15 games. Only 4 teams since 2000 have scored 35 or less in their first 15 games. I mean, absolutely pathetic. That's the Montreal Expos before they became the Washington Nationals. That's the Detroit Tigers, who won 43 games that year in 2003.
Coming for them.
The 2012 Pirates, who somehow finished 79 and 83, were 6-9 in those first 15 starts, so that probably helps. And the Miami Marlins in 2013, who started 3-12 and finished 62 and 100. If the White Sox finish 62 and 100, Pedro Grifol should be applauded, because what a turnaround. I mean, at this point, how many games can we truly expect them to win? Because, they're not going to finish with this roster, this horrible roster. There's going to be more injuries, right?
Yeah.
So what is the true upside for this offense? Can they turn it around? Is this just 9 guys slumping, or is this just going to be a car fire that gets worse?
No, Gavin Sheets hitting out of his mind. That is the premium, the peak of Gavin Sheets you're getting right now. He was crushing the ball yesterday, even though I think he went 0 for 4. A couple great plays by the Cincinnati Reds. He was stinging those balls, but he's the best hitter. Do we think this is going to continue? Absolutely not. Robbie Grossman's getting on every game. Good, but he's not really doing anything other than that. Singles, which is not his fault. He was brought, as Sean said, 5 games before the season started.
I'm not complaining about a 417 on base percentage.
Yeah, he's really good.
That's 100 points higher than the White Sox leader last year.
But do you think that's going to continue at a 417 clip? Probably not. He'll probably go downshift to more regular norms for himself. I'm trying to think of a player that is struggling that you think is going to just emerge from this. Is Andrew Vaughn eventually going to be a good hitter? Have you seen those at-bats he had today? Yeah. Just piss poor. Just swinging at balls that are about to hit his head, which is his problem the last couple years. No real process, understanding, and cussing or not acting the umpire was that a strike after a called third? It was perfectly in the zone. What are we doing? What are we doing, Andrew Vaughn? I'm trying to think of a player that you think is on the bottom that might get to his regular norms by the middle of the season. Maybe you get Aloy back this week, and he starts doing peak Aloy things, but we always know that has a limiting factor of when's he going to get injured or when they're going to rest his legs because he's still injured type of thing.
So I'm taking out Oscar Colas of this. I guess I should take out Remillard. And if I do, it's still a pathetic number. What is more, the number of White Sox players hitting 200 or above, or White Sox players hitting 200 or less?
White Sox players hitting 200 or less.
Yes, there are 7 White Sox with a batting average above 200. There are 8 with a batting average below 200. Vaughn's at 185. Jimenez through 3 games, 182. DeYoung, 176. Benintendi, 145. Lopez, 143. Maldonado, 069. Yuck. Matty Rice with another super chat saying, someone turned the fan off. Sean's notebook with the pictures of Pedro Grifol and Benintendi and a cloud nose are going to go flying. Greg, I don't know if you want to hit the fan here.
Turn it off.
For Matty Rice, he gave us $5. So, hey, I'd rather be warm if Matt's going to give us $5. Let's take a break. We'll let you know about some of our sponsors, and then we will likely talk a little bit more about Garrett Crochet's performance on Saturday, and then soon Vinnie Duber will join us from Guaranteed Rate Field. We want to let you know, though, about a way to elevate your watching experience in less than 60 seconds. You can make a Prize Picks entry and elevate the way that you watch baseball. PrizePicks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers, and instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. I haven't started this yet, but I don't know why I'm just not taking less than for homers by Andrew Benintendi every single game. I mean, there's probably going to be 162 of them. I guess 161 because he just sat out. I think that's probably an easy, fair, and square bet. No? Spring training is over and baseball season is officially underway. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your PrizePicks entry. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs, take your pick of more than or less than and add them to your PrizePicks entry today and get in on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks as you and the world's best player take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. You got the Bulls and only the Bulls in the play-in round on April 16th, 17th, and 19th. Playoff begins on April 20th. So if you are looking to elevate your watching experience, check out our friends over at prizepicks.com/CHGO and use code CHGO for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/CHGO. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
I say, take me a drink from a delicious Leinenkugel Summer Shandy.
Make sure you say that that crisp perfect. There you go.
Nothing says summer to me than hanging out with your friends at the beach, maybe at Guaranteed Rate Field, but doing it with a Leinenkugel Summer Shandy. And I know you're looking at me. Hey, Herb, I know the summer's here, and I'm going to enjoy me a lot of Leinenkugel Summer Shandy. But what do I drink when it's off-season and when it's no more availability of Summer Shandy? And Leinenkugel's got you covered because they have their Leinenkugel's regular original lager. Of course, Lakeside Cherry, which we drink on here on the set. Juicy Peach, Berry Weiss, Northwoods Amber, and Dark Lager, and so many more beers, including the delicious Honey Weiss, which is made with real Wisconsin honey. So you know it's good. I've tried all the varieties of Leinenkugel's beer, and I know that Leinenkugel's brings the flavor, whatever occasion that
What's
you
your
are.
favorite?
Of course,
Okay.
Summer Shandy.
Oh, of course.
I mean, Berry Weiss can't go wrong. But I mean, this is the flagship. This is what I first got introduced to Leinenkugel's was the Summer Shandy, and I've been a fan ever since. Nothing says summer like Leinenkugel. For over 150 years, Leinenkugel has combined Wisconsin innovation with German brewing traditions. You don't have to just pick one. Leinenkugel has proper variety packs that come with 4 flavors for you to try and enjoy. Flavor life's simple moments with Leinenkugel, the official beer of Chicago White Sox. Go to Leinie.com/CHGO for delivery options near you. That's LEINIE.com/CHGO. Or pick up Leinenkugel's pretty much anywhere that they sell beer. Leinenkugel's, flavor the moment. Celebrate responsibly. The Jacob Leinenkugel Brewing Company, Chippewa Falls.
Yes, and I get Nate's comment in the chat saying, I'm concerned that the next White Sox move will only make things worse. We begged for Rick Hahn to get fired, and it brought us this. To be fair to Chris Getz, I didn't hate the Brian Bannister move, and if he had a budget that mirrored Rick Hahn's last budget, like 185 rather than 125 or wherever they're around, I think that would probably show us a little bit more of his chops. He was clearly bargain bin shopping. I'm not happy about that. I'm not really defending it. I would love for the White Sox to spend money like a real team, especially if you're not going to have a top 10 pick. Like, why not try to put the best team out there? They didn't want to. But I don't really think that's Chris Getz's fault because he obviously sold Jerry Reinsdorf on the idea that they could rebuild this team or revamp this team with a cheaper budget. So Jerry Reinsdorf didn't have to spend as much. I mean, it all comes down to the owner. It all comes down to who's leading this. And when you fire one guy and then hire a guy 2 days later, I mean, that shows you the in-depth and the care for this White Sox team and organization. They just want to keep the ship going. They're making money.
And I think that came as a surprise when they fired both Kenny and Rick because we didn't think it was going to happen at all, firstly, and secondly, in season. But I think, you had some lobbying by Chris Getz to get the job done because, as you said, it was pretty much they're fired, this guy's hired the next week. So it wasn't any consideration. I think they were fired in lieu of Chris Getz being the new toy that they can give a new rope to, and he'll suck for however many years. And then Jerry, if he's still alive, will hire the next Chris Getz that will take over for him. So, yeah, you still got to fire the people who are not getting the job done. No matter if the next guy is going to be worse, you still have to have that accountability to your fans, to your organization. And I think the White Sox, by just keeping Pedro Grifol as the guy, as you said, he's going to go down as one of the worst managers in the history of baseball because this team is just piss poor. I would actually be begging Jerry if I was Pedro Grifol, hey, man, let me get out of this because it's better for me to try to find a job and stop right here
Herb.
at this point where I'm just getting housed instead of going through this whole full-ass season and just be miserable throughout and then get fired at the end of the year.
Dude's making $1 million. The
Great.
dude's making $1 million and has a contract for next year. There's no way he described this as a job that is more rare than a U.S. senator.
Okay.
There are 50 U.S. Are there? Yeah. The House of Representatives
There's
has
150
two.
senators.
100, whatever. No, there's 150?
150 senators. 100 U.S. senators.
There
Sorry,
you
I
go.
kept
All right,
on saying it wrong.
Anyways, my bad on that. There's 100 U.S. senators and there's 30 MLB managers, right? Like this is a less or a more exclusive club than most things. You don't just walk away from this job. I mean, I don't understand that. Pedro Grifol is not going to be embarrassed enough because A, the cashes or the checks are cashing, and two, he's got a ton of not cachet, but he's got a ton of at least support there. I don't think that Chris Getz looks at this team and is like, oh, Pedro Grifol should be having this team at, 3 and I can't do math. 3 and 13? No, 3 and 12. Yes. I don't think he should be thinking that this team should be, like 5 wins better. They suck. And I think Chris Getz knows it. I think it's pretty clear that especially with your 3 best players down, that you're going to suck. And the White Sox are in a very unique era of suck. There have been 28 teams since 1901 that have won 2 games or less in their first 15 games. 28 teams since 1901. There's been 6 since 2000. You know how many teams have played baseball since 1901?
Thousands.
Like truly 30,000, probably, no, not even 30, I don't even know. I could probably get the number. 50,000 plus teams, 28 results since 1901.
Yeah, that's.
I'll figure out the number.
Yeah, I don't think.
Well, let me ask you guys this. It seems like this team is staring a full rebuild down the barrel now, right?
They're in there.
They're
right
in
now.
it. They're in a half rebuild right now, though.
They're in a rebuild. They're just not calling it.
So,
That's
do you really want to make the change at manager now or wait until the team has a more appropriate roster to bring in a more long-term solution? Let this guy, Pedro Grifol, sit it out while they suck.
Well, that's my first. My thought is, again, with Joe Colley's reporting, Jerry Reinsdorf doesn't want to spend the necessary money to remove Pedro Grifol, and he also doesn't want to spend the necessary money to actually put out a capable baseball team. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to revamp all of their baseball operations, and hopefully, probably within the next 3 years, they're able to have a better functioning organization. I don't really know what the plan is because Jerry Reinsdorf said as fast as possible. There was never a year or a timeline put on this. The White Sox have never said, oh, we're expecting to be competitive in 2 years. They said the AL Central is the elephant in the room and we're going to try our best. I don't know what to expect from this team. I think they're going to try to luck into some wins, luck into some success, and I think that they're just going to try to put their head down and keep working. Jerry was there today, up in his booth, smoking cigars that Ozzy stole from him. I don't think that there's a motivation to improve this team. I think the White Sox are totally fine with just letting the season go by, making money, and calling it a year.
I hear you, and I hear you, Greg, that you don't want a new guy coming in and coming to this mess. But you have Charlie Montoyo, who has been a major league manager. Will he make a difference? Probably not. But as I said, this is not about going from 2-13 to contending for the playoffs. This is about just showing that 2-13 is not acceptable, and we won't sit back and allow somebody, the team, to be this bad.
But it is acceptable because people are going through the gates, and it doesn't have to be 20,000 people. It just has to be 10,000. Because if they don't have an attendance over 2 million, they don't pay taxes on the tickets sold.
Yeah, but I don't begrudge people for going to the game.
I'm not saying begrudge.
If you want to go to the game and you want to give money to Jerry, that's on you. I will not tell you how to fan. And so I think that yes, you need somebody to say, hey, this is enough. we need to have accountability for this happening. We can't fire the 26 people, so Pedro, you're out. It's enough. We did the experiment. You're gone. I think you have to do that to even endear yourself slightly to White Sox fans.
He doesn't care about endearing himself. He cares about getting $1 billion from the state and from the city to build a new stadium, so then he could sell the team for billions of dollars. He doesn't care about his reputation or the team.
It would be better then for him. He's just dumb then. It would be better for him to build a better team. So then you can say, hey, state, city, can you give me money? Because I think most people don't want to give any team any money. But when the Bears come calling and say, hey, city, state, can you give me some money? While the Bears haven't been great, they're going to be a little bit better next year and supposed to be up at the top. I'm thinking people like, hey, man, if there needs to be a stadium built for you not to go to Rosemont, hey, man, we might have to think about it. Because that's where the Bears are right now. I think they're more leaning to the Chicago thing. If the White Sox were actually good, or even like the Cubs, just a mediocre team, I think that would be a little bit more pleasant for the voters and pleasant for those lawmakers to say, yes, we can get this passed with no problem because you have people behind you. Now that Jerry has a bad team and he's a bad owner, I think that people are like, nah, you ain't getting a penny from me because your team sucks. But you're cheap. You're terrible. So why should I give you any money?
Go look at Kansas City. That football team is amazing. They have the greatest quarterback of all time. They have a Royals team that's spending money, signing Bobby Witt to an extension, and their taxpayers said, hell no. Like, I mean, I don't think they could have the best owners. They could have the best team. I don't think people want to give $1 billion to billionaires anymore. Like, I think it does not matter the state of the team. I get your point that,
when that
if
Bears
they were
thing
better,
happens, I'm guaranteed the Bears thing's going to happen.
I think the Bears are different. The White Sox aren't getting a penny, and I think the Bears are being very charitable to even include the White Sox in their plans. We got some more super chats. I do want to get to this. Our guy Ellie with a $10 super chat. He said, I heard there's a tweet by one of the reporters that Pedro was supposed to meet with Jerry today. I heard there's a tweet. Oh, he just copied and pasted it twice. Herb, did you see that tweet?
I saw it, but I didn't see it was a reputable person.
Oh, yeah, that's the ththing. It was from White Sox Bill. So, guys, I just want you to use your best discretion.
Oh, we're not going to trust Bill?
No, we're not going to trust reporter White Sox
Always
Bill
trust
from
Twitter.
Hey, man.
From the Sun Times in 670 The Score. I worked at 670 The Score. So did Herb. Do you remember White Sox Bill there?
I don't.
Oh, okay.
But also, I don't really trust anybody who doesn't put their name on their
Well, that's
opinion.
what I'm saying. It's also not a real photo. It's a stock photo of some guy looking and writing on a whiteboard.
And like
People
I said,
can type whatever they want on Twitter. It's not real. And just, again, if it's not a first name, last name, and it's not a picture of a real person, like, it's not an actual report.
But Sean, what about Wet Butt 23? Katy Perry's booty hole.
Well, that was a little bit different because that's on Reddit, and those are people trying to, like, you know, like that's a little bit different because that's trade talks. Like, White Sox Bill making shit up on his Twitter account isn't. I don't know. Hey, mate, do you feel like White Sox Bill is a Wet Butt 23?
No,
or Katy Perry's booty hole?
Like I said, if it does come true, I'll give credit to White Sox Bill, but I won't take or put any type of credence into his words until, firstly, he puts his name on it and or it actually comes true.
Yeah. Brian Marshall also with the super chat saying, I hear what you guys are saying, or I hear what you're saying, Greg. Hey, Greg gets a shout out. And thank you to Brian for the super chat. But I don't think Pedro is the guy to keep things respectable and develop young guys while they're rebuilding like Renteria was. And even then, I mean, I know we're all fond of Ricky, but it's not like Ricky's teams were that much better. I also think they had a larger budget, likely. Like, I hear the point for sure, and Pedro hasn't shown anything to me that gets me excited. And if they fire Pedro Grifol, I'll be happy. But I'm not getting excited because, again, I believe Joe Colley's reporting. I don't think the White Sox want to get out of this contract before, you know, so it doesn't cost them money.
I mean, Joe Colley might be many things, but his reporting on the White Sox usually comes true.
Yeah. And it would not be surprising that a team that trades for cash consideration so often to likely bump up their Mike Clevenger offer would not buy out Pedro Grifol's contract just so, you know,
I thought I was at the low. I thought I was at White Sox low right now, the rock bottom, but you just brought that name up. I'm like, God damn, that's still coming.
Oh, that's still coming. They don't have a fifth starter, and we're going to be joined soon by Vinnie Duber, our CHGO White Sox beat writer. I think he needs a link, by the way, Greg.
Sorry.
Greg says, oh, shit. Maybe Vinny's just sitting and waiting, ready to join us. But, yeah, we'll have Vinny joining us in a second. He does have some some stuff to report from the ballpark from Pedro, from Mike Soroka, Nicky Lopez, and Chris Getz, who spoke on Friday. Still trying to figure out how many teams have played since 1901. We'll get you that number soon. What else do I have here? Because, I mean, we talked about Pedro. We've talked about the offense. We've talked about at least the horrible play from the weekend.
We have to talk about their number 2 pitcher. It's Michael Soroka today. Just piss poor. I think he threw 91 pitches, and like 48 of them were strikes. So 43 were balls. Like, he was nowhere near the plate. I think it went 4 2/3, gave up 5 earned runs, walked 6, and struck out 4. Bad outing. He was nowhere near the plate for most of the game. Just, like, give your team a chance. Get crushed, which he eventually did, but don't give them free passes, 6 walks. And I know the Reds looked like champions today. I don't think they're as good as they showed themselves to be this weekend because of the competition, but they're a nice, exciting team to watch. They took every extra base. They stole 5 bases today. Could have been 6.
It was 6.
It was 6?
Fraley had a third.
Fraley had a third. It's like they were running on the White Sox and Michael Soroka at will today. If you're going to be bad, and I know this team's going to be bad, you got to do at least the fundamental things right, like holding on the runner at first, maybe calling a pitch out if you know that you don't have a quick move to the plate and that your catcher, who's toast, Martin Maldonado, can't – oh, it was Corey Lee today, but – Corey Lee made it as close as he could on a couple of them. He threw a guy out, which he got a caught stealing, but Nicky Lopez dropped that ball. You have to do the fundamental things right, and the White Sox didn't. Michael Soroka is just all over the place today. Couldn't find his command or control all day long, so he gave his team no chance. When it was 4-0, I was like, this game's over. They've scored over 4 runs, I think, 3 times this year. That's it. Like, how are they going to get over 4 runs against a team where Graham Ashcraft is out here dealing? Graham Ashcraft.
I think they've. You said over 4 runs.
Over 4 runs.
So you wouldn't include 4.
I would not include 4.
If you included 4, they've scored 4 times, but they've only scored over 4 3 different times. They've scored 6 twice and then 7 once. And hey, one of those 6s was in a loss, so that's always good. And looking at the schedule, we're going to take a break here in just a second. They have Kansas City up next, and we know how decent Kansas City is. Philadelphia coming up. 4 against Minnesota, 3 against Tampa, 3 against Minnesota. They are absolutely going to be worse than the 8-21 start from April of last year, and I don't think that they have a shot to win a series until May 13th. Until that Washington series where you got 3 against Washington on May 13th, 14th, and 15th, I don't think they have a shot. And then you just play playoff team after playoff team. You got New York, Toronto, Baltimore, Toronto, Milwaukee, Cubs, Boston Red Sox, Seattle, Diamondbacks, Houston, Detroit, and then the Dodgers. And then finally on June 28th, you get a reprieve and get to play Colorado. So that's pretty brutal.
And they're still better than the White Sox.
Colorado?
Yeah.
You think so?
Record-wise, they are.
Oh, okay. Well, everyone, I think, is better than the White Sox record-wise. All right, we're going to take a break, and we're going to let you know about our friends over at Game Time. And I think we'll be joined by Vinnie Duber soon, and I will check on Bill's comments in the chat. I don't know if that's real or not. All right, anyways, Herb, tell them about Game Time.
Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices at the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. I actually went to the White Sox game yesterday and bought tickets on Game Time. I bought them in Section 322. Love the club section. If you've never been up to the 322, I think it's the best seat at Guaranteed Rate Field. But also, I wanted to check out the Game Time guarantee. As I told you my Atlanta story, found one with a cheaper price. Sent this information to Game Time. They gave me the difference, 110% the difference in my account within 12 minutes. This same thing happened. I found one with a lower price than Game Time. It was only $5 cheaper. Sent this to Game Time, and they immediately did it. It was all done within the app, pretty much a couple screenshots, and the money was into my account. You can save up to 60% of buying last-minute tickets for sports, concert, comedy, theater, etc. Save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. And with zone deals, save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose those seats. And get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. So you ever been to a stadium with obstructed views? You know this comes into clutch territory. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. For a limited time, all users can get $20 off any MLB purchase of $150 or more in the Game Time app with the code FIRSTPITCH. Terms apply. That's code FIRSTPITCH with $20 from March 25th to April 14th. So that's coming up. Not today. April 14th or tomorrow.
Well, shoot, better find out.
Hurry up. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
Thank you, Herb. And we also want to let you know about us, CHGO. Make sure if you haven't yet, become a diehard, level up your fandom. Head over to allchgo.com. You get exclusives like exclusive articles. Vinny has the White Sox weekly newsletter that comes out every Monday for diehards. You get 20% off events. We have a great Bears draft party coming up. The Thursday event has already sold out, but we also have one on Friday that our tickets are still available for, so go check out allchgo.com. We also have 3 Sox takeovers coming up as well, starting on May 27th. If you buy the pass to go to all 3 of them, you do get a shirt as well included in that price. But we got one on May 27th. We got one on June 24th, and then you got one on August 9th as well. So if you haven't checked out the CHGO Die Hard program, you also get 20% off at events like this as well. So sign up to become a diehard today over at allchgo.com, and you get access to the CHGO Discord where you get to chat with diehards alike. So head over to allchgo.com. We'd appreciate your support, and we'd appreciate if you hit the thumbs up button. If you haven't yet, let's head out to Guaranteed Rate Field to our CHGO White Sox beat writer, Vinnie Duber, who has some news for us. Vinny, our guy Bill throwing it out in the chat that you tweeted out some news. So why don't you let people know about the newest White Sox?
Nick Nastrini will be joining the team tomorrow and making the start tomorrow against the Kansas City Royals. He'll be coming up from AAA. Justin Anderson, who pitched today, going down to AAA. And then there's a 40-man roster move that needs to be made to free up a spot for Nick Nastrini. That'll be coming tomorrow. But, hey, Nick Nastrini is up with the big league team.
Did you get to talk with Pedro or anybody about this Nick Nastrini news, or what did he have to say about Nick Nastrini and why he got the call up?
Yeah, I mean, basically, they're just remain impressed with him from what he was able to do during spring training. He's made a couple starts here. If you'll remember, Chris Getz said, I believe it was on the last homestand, that Nick was dealing with an illness at the end of spring training. And so they really wanted him to get over that before bringing him up to the big leagues. I don't know exactly how long it's been since he's been, quote, over that. But here he is coming up tomorrow to maybe kind of retool the White Sox rotation. Not really sure how it's going to play out after tomorrow, or if he's planned to be hanging around for a while or what. But they did need an extra arm in this series with the Royals. Whether he's the extra one or whether he's replacing somebody remains to be seen. But here he is now getting what will be his first ever big league shot. And you'd like to think that with a young guy like this, with the kind of the promise that he has as one of their top pitching prospects, that he would be up to stay, at least, and unless things go awry, obviously. But you would think that this would not just be a spot start, as that would be kind of a weird move to make with, again, them having to clear a 40-man spot.
So there's no confirmation that Fedde slides back. So, like, the Royals, did they confirm that? Like, it's Nastrini, Fedde, and then Flexen for the Royals?
Fedde will pitch one of the games Tuesday or Wednesday. They did not specify which one. The other game's starter is to be determined. So that is strange, as you make a face there, because Chris Flexen would have been in line to start Game 3 of that series on Wednesday. I believe there might also be some unpleasant weather forecasts maybe coming this week as well. We'll see how all that plays out.
So was there any talk about Jared Schuster? Because I would have thought, they'd send Jared Schuster down rather than Justin Anderson, because Schuster is more of a starter. That's what we thought of him as a starter. Is Schuster now looking at a bullpen role, or do you think that maybe he would be in contention if you said TBD for Flexen more because of weather, but I mean, are they considering Flexen at all for starting, or have they liked him out of the bullpen?
Well, Flexen.
Sorry, Schuster. Schuster is who I'm mainly asking.
Yeah, Schuster's in a bullpen role right now, obviously, but though like you mentioned, he's been a starter obviously prior to getting to the big league team here. I guess that's an option. I suppose they could start him if they wanted to. But the details on that, again, to be announced for that other game. So one of those other two games will be Eric Fetty, I guess, kind of quote unquote on schedule, but not on schedule because obviously they're bringing Mastrini up for tomorrow. But we'll see how it plays out with how they fill that other game, whether it's with just another bullpen game like they've been doing, or whether that's a different person in the starting rotation, or maybe it's just Chris Flexen again, and they're waiting to see how things go. So we'll see.
Speaking of the starting rotation, today's starter, Michael Soroka, just a rough outing for him where he throws 43 balls out of 91 pitches that he completes, 6 walks against the Cincinnati Reds, gives a 5 earned runs. What did he have to say about losing his control and never really regaining it?
Yeah, he wasn't happy. He was pretty frustrated, Michael Soroka, after the game, but a lot of really good stuff that he had to say, mostly about trying too hard. And, I think Pedro had a long explanation, which I tweeted earlier today from pregame, about how he thinks that guys pressing maybe is probably what's hurting the offense the most at the moment. And it really is kind of a team-wide thing. And Michael Soroka, I think, mentioned it after his first start in a White Sox uniform. He had gave up a couple of runs in the first inning, I think, way back in that opening series with the Tigers. And he said, I was trying to do too much in the first inning there. I don't think he's really gotten away from that. And I think he's just trying to, whatever the pitching equivalent is of hitting a 10-run homer with one swing. I mean, he's trying to do that right now. And he explained that and other guys confirmed that that's just a team-wide problem right now, is that everybody, I think the words that Michael Soroka used, which were very interesting, were you want to out-hustle and outwork everybody, but you can't necessarily do that from the pitcher's mound. You can't necessarily do that from the batter's box, right? And so when everybody's trying to fight the other team to try to fight this team's way back into, whatever, the standings are just not losing every game. They're trying to do it by getting everything done with one play and one hit. And, Nicky Lopez said a lot of the same stuff. So I think that this team right now is looking around and saying, we keep losing, this is bad. I'm going to dig us out of this hole by myself with one swing or with one strikeout. And they're finding that very much works against what they actually are trying to do.
Yeah, Herb mentioned, I think, at some point, are the pitchers pressing? And I said, no, they just stink. So I guess I was wrong there.
I mean,
Herb,
they could be
bad.
both. They could not be good pitchers and also pressing because they know that they need to limit runs because their offense can't do anything.
But then,
literally today, Soroka's explanation was he threw all these pitches, he gave up these runs, he walked all these guys, and then he said, forget it, I'm not even going to bother trying to be so perfect anymore. And that's when things started going a little better. I believe the last 4 outs he got were all strikeouts. I mean, this is an explanation where it's like he's so in his head, I guess, through the first however many innings that the game is over, basically. And then by the time he is basically giving up, I guess, not giving up in terms of competing, but giving up on trying to, win it all with one throw, then that's when it becomes easier for him. And that's when things start getting good. So I think that's a mentality that all these guys have to adopt. I think the thing that fans don't understand, admittedly, I don't understand, I'm not a competitor of any kind, right, is that that's hard to do. And I think that these guys keep saying how hard that is because, listen, if they say it every day is the reason that they're doing poorly, you'd think they'd be able to get out of it by changing their mindset. It's obviously not that hard. And I think one thing that stuck with me in terms of an explanation there is from when I talked to Michael Kopech during spring training, the idea that it's competition and that these guys are competitors. It's like, I think I'm trying to beat you, and I'm going to try to beat you with this perfect pitch. I'm going to try to beat you with this perfect swing. And then that's the way that it snowballs and gets away from these guys. And that's why it's maybe not so easy to just drop it as it might kind of sound when they explain it.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems though the Sox are getting beaten every single asset. They're getting beat offensively. They're getting beat by pitching. They're getting beat on the base running. You tweeted out that long thing from Pedro earlier today, and he says you've got to execute at this level. And then they go out and they give up 6 stolen bases on 7 attempts. I mean, I feel like that's part of the execution too. It's just the little things. It's not even about making the perfect pitch. It's about checking on the runner at first base who's already halfway to second base. Was there any explanation or did Pedro offer anything post game about the poor ability to keep runners on first base because you're just giving them an extra 90 feet there?
I mean, between that and the many, many defensive mistakes we saw today, I mean, this is Herb, I think I saw you tweeted it at one point. This is just exactly the opposite. This game, at least, is exactly the opposite of the way that Pedro wanted this team to play. And so after the game, I say, you guys focus so much on defense and on fundamentals in the offseason with who you acquired in the spring with what you guys were preaching. And I said, I know that he doesn't think that that's what this team is on a daily basis, because today was particularly glaring, right? But I asked him, how do you explain this to fans who see this and say this is the opposite of everything? And he says, you don't explain it. We should have made those plays. There's no excuse for that. This is the big leagues. You got to make those plays. And I think that's true. I don't think it makes anybody feel any better. I guess the thing is it going to stop happening? And, I don't think I would go as far to say that this team looks nightly in that area like they did last year, like they did the year before. I think there are games they play where the defense is fine. You know what I mean? But then on top of it, they're only getting 2 hits. You know what I mean? Like this fundamental stuff is not a chronic problem yet, like the offensive stuff is, but you have more games like this and all of a sudden it is. And so you've got to be able to avoid those mistakes. I mean, Robbie Grossman dropping that fly ball in right field. Yeah. I mean, obviously the sun must have been shining in a weird direction because it happened to the Reds right fielder too. But you can't do stuff like that. You mentioned all of the stolen bases. I mean, part of that is the Reds being good at that and aggressive, right? But what did we see all last year? Michael Kopech and Yasmani Grandal unable to keep guys from running all over the bases. Now it's Corey Lee and Michael Soroka, and they steal 6 bases anyway. You can't have that happen. Certainly to a team that's trying to dig itself out of what is now the worst start in franchise history.
Yeah, Vin, you sent in some video from Nicky Lopez. You brought up the Michael Soroka stuff as well, but we got the Nicky Lopez stuff ready to go. So why don't we hear from Nicky Lopez, a guy that we expected great defense from, and for the most part it's been good, but he's also dropping throws down to second base because guys are sliding into him. So let's hear from Nicky Lopez post-game today.
We're just asking Michael, and I know you probably talked about this already because the start's been going on for a little bit now, but when you start 2-13 and you have kind of a rough day like this over, how do you kind of keep it from snowballing and get it back on track as quick as you possibly can?
Yeah, I mean, I wish there was a special pill, and it's just tough. We're all going through it. We're all struggling, but we all want it to turn too. So we just gotta keep coming every single day and ready to compete. And one day maybe it'll click. So we just gotta keep stay positive and keep going.
What's the best way to describe the feeling in here right now? Is it frustration?
It sucks. It sucks. I mean, no one likes losing. No one wants to struggle. You can use the term it's early, you can do any of that stuff, but it's our livelihoods. It's our careers, and no one likes to struggle. But the good thing is we play 140 something more or whatever it is. So, like I said, just keep attacking it, try to stay as positive as you can, and hopefully it turns.
How hard is it for you guys to not try to do too much? I mean, it's competition,
it's
right?
Tough. Yeah, it's tough because it's just human nature. You want to get a hit right now and get them all back. And I hope this hit counts for 40 points on your batting average, but it's not like that. You can't do that. You got to chip away, and you got to come in, and you got to put in the work, and yeah, there's just not like that magic pill that you can take, but you have to keep fighting in this game, and it'll humble you and slap you in the face sometimes, but you just got to ride the wave.
They seem to be pretty active on the base paths today. What was kind of from your vantage point, just allowing them to?
Yeah, they were running. I mean, they're a scrappy team, and then they have some boppers in the middle, but they were running a lot. It worked to their advantage, obviously, and they were successful.
Do you have any anecdotal experiences of how to turn this around? Michael mentioned on the World Series Braves when they were down.
Yeah, I mean, I can piggyback off of just him being in that clubhouse last year with the Braves and just seeing the way they go about their business, and but they hit some skids as well, and it's just kind of going about the business. Hey, we're here for a reason. We belong here. You're gonna have those ups and you're gonna have those downs, and how can we stay level-headed through them? And it's easy to go down that path early in April to try to search and try to overdo it. you can sometimes hide stuff like this in April or in July and August, but when it's early, it's obviously everyone sees it. So we're just gotta keep attacking every single day, and hopefully it turns.
Emphasis placed on defense this offseason in the spring. How do you guys explain a few plays that haven't gone your way?
Yeah, it was a tough day for us defensively, but we'll. We've been playing good defense, and sometimes you have these games where it just seems like nothing's clicking, and but hopefully we can start stacking some good days here soon.
Damn, my man Nicky looks very, very sad, and that place was silent. I know it usually is, but man, I couldn't drop a pin in there and hear that. But one question I have, Vinny, I know it's 11-4 game, so this play in particular is probably not on top of mind of neither the Pedro or the reporters, but in the 7th inning, you had a good play where Andrew Benintendi drives the ball to left center field, and you have bases loaded where you only get one run there. Was that brought up? Because that, to me, is the fasting. You're fearless, you're aggressive. At second base at that time, I think, was Nicky Lopez, who only went to third base on that long single. But, those are the type of things I see that the message is not getting through, or we're not playing the way that Pedro would like us to play. This baseball IQ there is just low.
I think that was a weird play. I think they definitely. If memory serves, the guy almost caught the ball, and so I think that's the point. Is that I think they had to hold up because I remember seeing the ball or hearing the ball hit the wall, and then looking at the runners, and they're trying to get going again. After kind of jump starting a little bit. So maybe it's a thought of they thought he was going to catch the ball, and so they didn't get going until then. But Nicky had no chance to score from second the way he was running. That ball got back to the infield pretty quick. I think that's probably just a weird play right there. That ball was smoked by Benintendi, but I think that I think that play in particular is probably less, to your point, than a lot of other ones in this game. I think that there were so many problems with what Sean illustrated, all the stolen bases. Nicky had that play at second where the guy slides in. It looked like the throw beat the guy by a good bit, but Nicky slipped on second base. And then he slips on second base, and he's fallen down, and he can't get the tag down the way he wanted to. So there were so many in this game where you can point to things not going the way that these White Sox drew them up in the preseason. And I'm not even talking about winning a baseball game. I'm talking about the way that they should be playing.
Yeah, absolutely. We got 120 people watching. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. And if you haven't checked out Vinny's articles over at ALLCITY, he's got 2 from the weekend. One on an update from Robert and Moncada from Chris Getz. We also put the video up on our CHGO Sports YouTube channel, so if you do want to hear directly from Chris Getz, that is up and available, video on demand, on our CHGO Sports YouTube channel. But we also got an article today about Garrett Crochet's workload and Michael Kopech. I'd feel remiss not talking about Garrett Crochet in this weekend's show, so we'll get to Crochet. But I found one interesting thing from the Kopech part where Pedro says, when we smell a win, we've got to go get it. And I asked this on the Wednesday wrap-up show, why is Brian Shaw in there in the 10th inning and not Michael Kopech? And then you mentioned in there, Grifol says Kopech is now available on consecutive days and multiple times in a short stretch. And there was an off day on that Thursday. I find it very weird that now for this series he's available, but for that Cleveland one he wasn't. Maybe it was, again, just going 2 innings, but feel free to explain.
Yeah, he was unavailable that day because he threw 2 innings. And I even followed up again on this with Pedro on Friday. But the idea is that Pedro wants to use him as a closer, as a regular closer, right? And so that means having to throw 2-3 days in a row. That has to mean throw 3 out of 4 games, that kind of thing. But he thought the best thing to do that day, because it was a close game and he had Kopech available on, this was last Tuesday now, was throw him those 2 innings. And no, he didn't throw the most amount of pitches in the world, but the getting up and going back out there is a thing for relievers. And so Pedro made it clear that he's not going to be used in a back-to-back days when he goes 2 innings, the first one. So that was not a contradictory statement there from the manager. It was, again, very specific to that situation. But I think the idea, because we haven't really seen Kopech used like that yet, you know what I mean? He seems to be being used every few days, and there's been multiple times where he's gone multiple innings, multiple times where he's thrown 30-plus pitches. So I think the idea is, and Pedro even said, in an ideal world, we would use it. We'd go 8 innings and then give him the ball every day. That would be the thing to do ideally. But then he said, this is not an ideal world. We're 2-10, which is their record at the time. And then he said the thing about having to go get that win when they can get them. I think he saw a 1-run lead or a small lead. It was 1 or 2. I don't remember what it was that night, but it was a small lead. He saw an opportunity to protect that lead over 2 innings, and Kopech was the best way to do it. And he knew in the time that he was preventing himself from using Kopech the following day, and then turned out to be another situation in which he could have used him.
I know it's only 15 games, but you got a decent sample size of how the White Sox are going to hit this year. Is there any talk by Pedro? I know they're probably not pressing at this point, but of doing something different, either in their pregame prep where sometimes Joe Madden would say, don't hit. Today we're not going to be hitting at all, or doing more hitting, or doing less. Something different than what they've been doing for these 15 games that led them to a 2-13 record.
Yeah, they did it today. They took batting practice before the game today, which is atypical for a 1 o'clock start on a Sunday. But they did it today. They took it at before 10 in the morning, and they were out there, as if it were a night game, I guess you would say, taking batting practice. Certainly, that was the example that Pedro gave. And then after the game, he was basically asked the same question you just asked me, and he said what I just told you, and then said, "But that's not it." So he emphasized that there are a lot of conversations that are happening behind closed doors that he doesn't want to talk about, you know what I mean? And that's fine, I guess. Obviously it doesn't answer the questions that we have, but certainly him and the coaching staff are talking both with each other and with the team about what needs to be done and what needs to be adjusted. Just because we're not hearing that doesn't mean that those conversations aren't happening, which to me makes plenty of sense that those conversations are happening because this is their job.
Let's get to kind of a bright spot. He obviously had his worst start of the 4 this season, but Garrett Crochet pitched on Saturday, had 10 strikeouts. I think the biggest thing that showed out from at least being in the stadium and on TV was his velocity. Greg, feel free to flash that. You could see that this is his pitch velocity throughout that Cincinnati start. You could see that he started off around 97 or 98, and then he started to tail off a little bit towards more averaging 96, 95. I know Chris Getz talked on Friday about managing Garrett Crochet. I'm not too concerned about the velocity dip, mainly because that second inning he gets hosed on a call by the umpire. Should have had India out on a strike 3. Should have been 11 strikeouts and 1 less walk. Doesn't get the call, and then the Reds are able to add on with a Spencer Steer double. But what did Getz say specifically about Crochet and how they're going to manage the quote-unquote ace?
Yeah, I mean, I asked basically, hey, this is a guy who hasn't thrown a lot of innings coming into this year. Is there something that you guys are going to have to do down the road or at any point sooner than that to make sure that he is not overworked? And he said that probably will come at some point where they have to be more measured. But right now, they're going to kind of let him go. And I think the idea is probably just what they're seeing, which is really positive results and a guy who feels really good on a regular basis. Whether it's Getz or Pedro or Garrett himself, we've heard nothing but positive descriptions of how Garrett is feeling physically throughout this first couple weeks of the season, in which he's now already pitched 4 times. As a starter, he's gone over 90 pitches in 2 of those games. He seems to just be feeling fine, and I think the White Sox are going to trust in that to kind of guide them a little bit here. And, if they are to hear from him that he's feeling a little, my arm's doing a little something here, then they'll probably throttle back. But I don't think they have at least they haven't told us that they have a date in mind when they want to do that. This really seems to be more of a feel approach than it is all right, when you get to date X, you're done kind of thing. Or on date X, we bring you down from 90 pitches a game to 80 and 70, and then we work you back up. We talked on this show, I think, after the last start that Garrett made, which was fewer than 80 pitches, that Pedro did kind of mention, like he had it in mind that he wanted to ease him up a little bit after the way the first 2 pitch counts went in his first 2 starts. So I think it's going to continue to be kind of those micro moves and then just talking to Garrett and making sure that he's feeling fine. But so far, everything we've heard is that he feels good.
I was going to ask you, Vinny, and this is going to take you to speculate what they're thinking, but I know if I ask you what's the White Sox best case scenario, you're going to say the World Series, which is true. But what is their most realistic after a 2-13, 15-game start? What's their most realistic thing that they believe that, okay, if we finish these last 100-plus games this way, we'll be satisfied with that record and or that ending?
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea is kind of what I said at the beginning of the season. It's about how they play. And right now that is dramatically focused on the offense because the offense has been so poor in producing it all. I think when we talked about this in the preseason, I was like, are we going to see the defensive improvement? Are we going to see them master the fundamentals? Are they going to be trying really hard and establishing an identity and a culture? And if they do all those things, that will be a success in terms of what Chris Getz is trying to build. On top of that now goes, are they going to hit the ball? Because they're not doing that through the first 15 games. Now, obviously today, the offense was probably far from their worst problem. That being said, they still lost by 7 runs. So you don't, if you're them, you obviously don't want to see that. But the idea that they would play in a way that would not have us talking about things like we are today, right? I mean, I wouldn't call this, a sign that everything is going astray and they need to change all their big picture plans. But this game specifically is the opposite of what they wanted to do in the preseason. This game singular is a example of a failure to do all of the things that they set out to do. And then there's the injuries and the lack of offense on top of that. So there's a lot of things that they need to get better at. Certainly hitting would be a necessary improvement, or they're going to keep losing games like this all the time. But if we can sit here in a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months and say, boy, they really didn't have many games like that where they made 3 errors. They really didn't have many games like that where guys were dropping balls and the other team was running all over them and the pitchers were walking guys all over the place. If we can say that in a few months, that will be realistically a great place for them to be, right? Because then we'll be talking about a team that is probably playing the way that it wants to play and playing a way that it wants a good version of this team to play in years to come.
I hope so, Vinny. This is a team that still has 1 win in all the one-run games that they've played in. It just doesn't seem like they have that extra oomph, that extra execution to take them over the hump. But hopefully we start seeing that soon as there's 140 more games.
Sean, Herb asked me what would be the case. He didn't ask me what will be the case.
I wasn't trying to blame you. That wasn't supposed to be any shade there. You did mention the injuries. I know you got an update on Friday that people can go read at allchgo.com, but why not share with the people the update that Chris Getz gave for you, or to you guys, about Robert Moncada? And is there any news on Eloy, too?
So let's start with the ones that are a little more cut and dry. Good news on both Robert and Moncada, relatively speaking. Robert, it's supposed to only be about a 6-week absence. We obviously saw Bob Nightingale at USA Today report on some supposed team belief that it was going to be much, much longer than that. But the GM said 6 weeks probably for Robert. He said about 3 months for Moncada. So, we were talking about wondering, was that Yoán Moncada's last game in a White Sox uniform? It sure doesn't sound like it. Chris Getz said they expect him back shortly after the All-Star break. On the Eloy Jimenez front, obviously they increased some of his workload in terms of workouts and running and hitting. You saw some video over the weekend of him doing those things. And it sounds like he's getting closer to going on a rehab assignment, which I'm not quite sure any of us necessarily thought was going to be the case as of Friday. Pedro told the reporters who were here that yesterday. But it's hard to say in terms of when Eloy is going to be back. I mean, right? We went from we're the team trying to figure out if he even needs to go on the IL at all to now he's definitely going to need a rehab assignment before he comes back off the IL. So kind of different outlooks as the days go on, I guess. But it sounds like he will need a rehab assignment. When that starts, we do not know. But as soon as we find out, I'll be sure to tell you.
I mean, that's at least good, though. They have kind of corrected their mistakes, in my estimation, putting Eloy on the IL and then subsequently putting him in a rehab assignment. So when he hits the majors, it's not that using that as the rehab assignment. It's he's ready to play, and now we have him for unlimited times to play him. I know they're still going to sit him out, but I think they're learning from their old mistakes on how to handle Eloy specifically and just injuries in particular. So that's good, even though it took a minute for them to get it right. In my estimation, they might have been thinking that this is all, it's been happening and he had a setback and that's why he's on the IL. But, I think that they're doing things right in that case.
We'll see, man. I don't know. Hopefully he comes back and just hits the hell out of the baseball, and I don't have to think about it.
Just crush a bunch of home runs. Hopefully. Allow the White Sox to trade you to another team. I know it's just depressing, and now like Clubhouse, its course is going to be silent, and no one's going to be happy after getting dogged by 7 runs and getting swept by another team and having another 4+ game losing streak. So it should be silent, but after July, it's going to be like dead silent. There's going to be no one in there. The games are going to mean nothing. You're going to be looking for October, the sweet relief of October. And I want Eloy to find that joy, the high mom, the guy in front of me, to find that joy on somebody else's team, because it's probably not going to happen with the White Sox. It's probably not going to happen for Yoán either. So I know he's going to be coming back possibly after the All-Star game. Hopefully he comes back and somebody wants him for the trade deadline and he goes to another team. Just go somewhere else and be happy. Baseball's supposed to be fun. Right now for this 2024 White Sox team, no fun at all.
No, but they're playing fast.
Not really.
Oh, okay. That's Herb Lawrence. You can follow him at ExtraWall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. That is Vinnie Duber, our CHGO White Sox beat writer. Go check out his work at allchgo.com. Again, he chatted with Chris Getz on Friday, and we have that video available to you on our CHGO Sports YouTube channel. And you can check out his article from today about Garrett Crochet, Michael Kopech, and more. I guess about the 5th starter, Vinny, but I mean, they kind of. You got to update that one now.
I mean, my goodness, a little heads up would have been nice. I wouldn't have included it in there. Come on, guys.
Seriously, Pedro can give you 200 words about how hard they're trying to execute, but just can't give you a heads up that, hey, Vinny, I know you're posting a story. Nick Nestrini's going to be the starter.
I'll say this, guys. White Sox Weekly newsletter comes out tomorrow. I talked with Gavin Sheets, and we will have what he worked on this offseason and the best advice he got from Jim Thome this spring.
Awesome.
Ooh, was it shave his goatee?
Well, no, he has the goatee.
I know. Well, I guess okay.
Looks like Garth Knight now.
I don't know about the goatee.
Hey, man, it's working.
Okay.
Don't argue with results.
Garth Knight?
That's Michael Knight's evil twin brother.
Oh, okay. All right.
But he mostly had like a soul patch, but
yeah,
he
looks more like devilish soul patch.
Was that a Knight Rider reference, Herb?
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
And of course, I didn't get it.
I mean,
is it played? Is it played by Hasselhoff?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Right. Badly too. Terribly. Not worse than what my thing was.
Like
when I did that future Herb.
Oh yeah.
Much worse.
But I mean, it's still you. I mean, it's like Gene Parmesan just taking off the mustache.
Yeah, but those are Hollywood executives and with filming equipment in the 80s, and they were friends. It is a rough go.
All right. Well, check out Vinny's work at allchgo.com. That's Herb Lawrence. Check him out at EckerWall23. You can follow me at Sean_W_Anderson. Thank you to Greg Braggs for producing the show. Thank you to Stephen Nicholas for helping out as well. And you can follow the show at CHGO_White Sox. We'll be back tomorrow with pregame at 6 o'clock and the postgame after the game. Sox play the Royals at 6:40 for Nick Nestrini's first MLB start. Talk to you then. Goodbye.
We all silly like the mayor.